you hadn't teared down with David?
No, I haven't.
Okay.
Why do you think I popped up and said orangutan?
Okay. Okay, this is back right before it's when A Company got wiped out over Vietnam. And what was happening was having a forced march over to the area of where the company's getting wiped out. And we was having to hump a bunch of meters a night. So one of the nights that we had to hump so many meters, well, I told the other guys, I said, well, I'm going to take the first night, half the night of watch, since you guys are so wore out and stuff. They had nobody got any rest. So we set up at this fire support base, and there was a wood line right around us with a clearing out above it. So I walked out into it, and there was a bunch of, it was the time of the year, there was a bunch of fallen leaves and stuff like that around, and there's stuff that would crinkle and break real easy. So I said, okay, I'll take the first night watch, and you guys all split it up. It's like an hour or 45 minutes a piece for you guys, and y'all do the rest of the night, because we humped real late that night. Okay, well, when I set up, well, I went out too close to the edge of the perimeter, but I was back far enough in the woods that I could hide and conceal myself and be able to sit there and see. So it was probably about 1 o'clock at night, and I'm sitting out there, and then all of a sudden it started getting real quiet stuff, and I was getting real sleepy, and I was at a part where I was sitting on this old blowed down tree that was out there, and I was nodding a little bit like this, in and out, and I had my M16 leaning against me, against that tree. And I'm sitting there listening and stuff, and then all of a sudden I hear a noise is right over to my right over here. And I started to move over to grab my 16 so I'd be ready to shoot whatever it was. And I started to move there, and then I broke a twig or something doing it, and I made a noise, and I said, oh shit. So I'm scared that they're hearing me now, you know. And I said, man, it's like, and I was trying to smell to see if I could smell the VC or something, because you could smell them and stuff and everything, but it was a different odor that I was smelling, and it was a different feeling that I had, but I thought it was maybe a different, maybe the Chinese or something up there or something, or a different bunch of guys. So I was starting to really get in my head. I'm like, man, what is this? How did it get that close to me without me hearing it before now? And then it was right like 10 foot away from me to my right, and it tried to move, and I heard it break the brush. Man, what is this now? And then I started to reach more for my gun, and as soon as I started to reach for it, it was making more noise, so I just froze, and I just hanging on, and I started froze, and I was looking around in the dark, trying to see what I could see in that tree line, and then I looked up, and then there was this face, big long face right up by me, and these big teeth and stuff like that, and I looked at this thing, and it looked at me, and this thing screamed like a woman inside the woods there, and I jumped up, tried to grab my rifle, and I couldn't even get it, and I fell over the tree, and then I started running back away from it, and when I was running back away from it, the orangutan screamed, and it ran through the woods and went into the company perimeter, and some guys got shot up. They got inside the company line, and some guys started shooting at each other, got some casualties that night. From one guy had to be helicoptered in from the fire, the fire stuff going on, but it was just real crazy about that. That's what happened with the orangutan deal. That's just one of the stories, you know.
That's pretty crazy.
And then one of the, let me tell you, I told you about the big snake, the python snake.
Oh, is that a separate story?
Yeah, it's a different one.
I'll reset it.
I didn't tell you about that one? I did? Okay, well, there's another part right after that. Is another part that was having 4th March to try to get into help these people out. And we was having, and the company never lets you do anything. You can't follow any trails. You can't go into any river bottoms or anything like that, because they're afraid of ambush being set up. They want you to chop your way through the woods everywhere you go to find a new route to it, not to use some kind of path that's already there, because you could be set up for an ambush or something like that. So we was trying to make it within a certain amount of time to another place that a company had got in trouble, and we was humping, and they had us going down there to the river bottom. And it was a small river, it was probably about 12 foot wide, stuff like that. And you had to keep, they'd holler at you, and everybody had to keep their intervals and stuff like that, because they didn't want somebody, a bunch of you get together where they'd bomb you or do something to you, to rocket grenade or something like that. So they kept you on good intervals apart and everything. And I would notice up in the river in front of me, everybody would be walking along inside that river. It was going at a fast pace, but all of a sudden everybody would just scatter. And I'm talking about they'd just head off into the woods like that, and I'm thinking, what's going on up there? And then a little bit later, they'd start moving back in. You'd see them going down the river bottom, and all of a sudden it's like a covey of quails. They just scatter right out of the river again. I said, what's going on? What's wrong with them guys up there? What are they doing that for? And so I kept watching and trying to figure it out, and eventually I was walking along in the river and stuff like that, and I looked down, and I was one of them guys that scattered out like a covey of quails. There was a big python snake about 24 foot long, but the dude was dead. How he got killed, I don't know. But he was floating in the water, and right as I looked down into the water, his head came bobbing out of the water, and then I seen the whole length of his body. And so, man, I was one of them was flipping out of the water and falling down trying to get out of there, and it was that darn big old snake in the water was what it was. But anyway, that was it.